good friend, and he probably doesn't need much introduction. People at Oklahoma State know about Brandon Weeden, one of the finest quarterbacks we've ever had here. An NFL guy, an NFL quarterback, and occasionally I still think you're doing it. You can hear Brandon and Doug Gottlieb, a couple Oklahoma State guys on the radio on this very radio station. You're still doing that, right?
I am, yeah. Every Thursday at 2:25 Central. Yeah, it's fun. It's nice I like Doug. I've always been a big fan, and he's a good dude. I've got to know over the years. But yeah, I go on there for 12 to 15 minutes every Thursday afternoon.
Hey, between radio and playing golf, you're busy, I'm sure. And I know how you are playing golf. But I was happy I didn't drag you off the course here. And I want to ask you this. It wasn't identical, and the situations were a little different, but the baseline was there. You had to come off the bench to rescue Oklahoma State against Colorado when Kate was relieved of duties at halftime. Illingworth had to come on because Bullock didn't get the job done in place of Sanders. What's the mindset? I mean, I know, having been a coach, I used to say it all the time. You got to be ready. You got to be ready when your numbers call. But are you really ready when you come to the stadium?
I mean, you better hope you are. Yeah, mentally, I think you got to be. I tell people this all the time. Being a backup quarterback is extremely challenging in the fact you don't get any reps, especially if you're a third guy.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, if you're a guy like Shane, he's a young player, he's coming off the bench. Whenever they say, "Hey, Shane, you're in," I mean, you don't have no time to think about it. You just go out and react, and heck, there's no pressure. I mean, you're not going to get any worse than what had just happened. So you might as well go out there and let it fly. And like I said, you don't have time to overthink it. You just go out and play ball like you played forever. So whereas a starter, I mean, you got the whole week to think about it. Sometimes you can overthink some things. Sometimes you can just, kind of get a little stir crazy. But no, I mean, I think he came in. He played as well as they could have hoped and well as he could have thought they could have. I mean, he came in and obviously the big play to Thailand kind of got him some momentum going and, got a chunk play that they really hadn't had a chance to get throughout the game. So I thought he came in good. I mean, he's an 18-year-old kid, man. I mean, he's just got on campus, in January, so he's still learning his way. But, he didn't have time to think. He just went out and reacted and kind of threw the ball to the open guy and came back and got a win that they needed. If they had lost that one, that would have been I can't think of any worse losses in a long time. So they needed that one.
It's never this easy, but I got to think, as long as you got two out there, you can put the ball in the air. That's a pretty good option to throw it to two and let him go get it somehow, some way. But what's your X and O critique of Illingworth? Because you knew about him obviously before he came in the game.
Yeah, I was up there a couple weeks ago. I talked to Gunny and Tim McKay and those guys, and what little I know. I mean, obviously he's a big kid. He plays taller than I am. He's 6'6" or so, and he's going to stand in the pocket. So he's a little bit different. He's more of a Mason Rudolph type, our style, versus maybe a Spencer or a J.W. Walsh, back in the day where, Zach Robinson, they're running around, making a ton of plays with their feet. They're going to ask him to beat you from the pocket. I mean, I may be biased a little bit, but I love that style of play. I think that's what Oklahoma State's kind of been at its best, is that style, off tempo, just slinging all over the yard 35, 40 times a game. But, yeah, I mean, I think he's got a really high ceiling. I think he's obviously got a ton of arm talent. He's a big guy. He can stay healthy. I think he's got, a chance to be a good player down the road. Now, Spencer's obviously the starter, and, who knows how long he'll be out. But, he gets a couple weeks here to go out and go play. I mean, these are reps that, you normally don't get because most of the reps usually come in those first few weeks when you're playing Missouri State, the College of the Blind, so these are against Big 12, opponents. So it's good for him. It's good to go out and get some good reps, and I'm anxious to see what he can do. I think he's got a pretty high ceiling.
It's Brandon Weeden joining us here on the Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Brandon, take us into the minds of what was going on with Oklahoma State. Let's talk about, for instance, halftime last week. You go into a game where originally you were hoping by halftime you'd have a giant lead, and it was a game you were supposed to dominate. All of a sudden, the mindset is flipped to, okay, well, we're just in a position where now we're just trying to win this game all of a sudden. So what's going on in the minds of especially the seniors, the skill players, of how do we get our team back on track against a team that we should be beating?
I think the main main thing is try not to panic. I mean, it's easy to do because you're looking around. It's like, all right, we need somebody to step up and make a play. So, the guys who need to do that are obviously Tyler Wallace and Chuba Hubbard. Those two guys. We need a guy like that, like he did. He made a big play down the field, and then kind of the momentum kind of builds. So at halftime, there's no reason to go back to the drawing board, reinvent the wheel. You already have your game plan in place. Just, hey, what are we good at? What are they doing defensively? We don't have a ton of tape on them. What's Tulsa doing defensively, and how can we exploit it? What do we have in the game plan that we like? And obviously, what's the quarterback comfortable with? But yeah, you don't want to panic. I mean, unfortunately, we've had some situations like that. I mean, there was a couple times when I was playing where at half, we're like, golly, first half didn't go as planned. But it's just, hey, back then it was, hey, Weeden, hey, Blackman, hey, Coop, one of you guys got to make a play.
Yeah.
Just get us going. We need some momentum. And Oklahoma State's offense, a lot of college offenses are all built off momentum. Usually those come after explosive plays down the field, and fortunately they got one that kind of got them going. Obviously the production wasn't there throughout 4 quarters, but again, here in 9-10 weeks, I doubt many people will look back at Tulsa and go, man, we just stunk by. It's the win. Put feather in your cap and move on to the next one. Hope you get better. They got a lot to clean up, but hopefully you get better in a lot of facets of the game.
Hey, Brandon, Jason Elmquist here. Looking forward to Saturday's game. Obviously, there's a huge moment that's going to occur with OSU unveiling Ring of Honor. As a former player yourself, maybe someone who will be on that one day, how excited are you for the fact that the program is going to start recognizing those legends like Thurman and Barry and stuff like that? And especially someone like Thurman who told us earlier this week that the two of you have gotten to know each other over the years.
Yeah, I think it's long overdue. And I mean, gosh, if I was even, mentioning the same category as a lot of those guys, and, one day down the road and I'm on that, I'm able to be one of those names, I mean, I don't even know how I'd react. I'd be so ecstatic. But, yeah, I've complained about this, not really publicly, but, to buddies and just people that are Oklahoma State people, in my opinion, Oklahoma State has not done a very good job of taking care of their own, whether that be, alumni or, particularly former football players, in the athletic department. I mean, it's weird. And I hate to bring up OU and compare us to OU, but I mean, you look what they do for their former players. I mean, it's impressive. And, guys like Adrian Peterson and Jason White, these guys that are big-time players, I mean, they obviously, but, a lot of different players. They don't have to be a Heisman winner or an All-American or a national champion or whatever. I mean, I feel like they've kind of been a little lackluster in that department. I don't feel like they've really taken care of their own, like, a lot of these big, prestigious colleges around the country, traditionally do. And I think hopefully someone up there will kind of take the bull by the horns and, maybe that'll change. I know Thurman was very outspoken about it, and when he was obviously told he was going to be in the Ring of Honor, so maybe things will change. I feel like there's just been so many good players that have kind of elevated that program. Now it's a, year in and year out, it's the top 20, 15, 20, 25 program in the country. I just feel like, a lot of things slide through the cracks, and I don't think it's right. And I'm not just talking about me, I'm talking about in general. But, it's unique. I've got a lot of buddies I play with that went to OU, and, the way that they're treated and the way that the things, not benefits, the things they get when they're done playing there, I mean, I can't say the same for Oklahoma State. It's kind of unfortunate. It really is. But, like I said, maybe things will change, but only time will tell.
Then I guess you agree with the disconnect theory, I guess, from various players that were voiced throughout the summertime, that, that it's not the connection we want. It's not the connection we would like to have. And hopefully, Thurman said the right stuff. Maybe this Ring of Honor will get us going and hit it in. But words are words. I mean, it still has to be in action where guys feel like they're part of the program again. And I'm not going to throw out names, but I was here for 30 years, and I can mention about 4 guys who left the program feeling like, you know what, I guess they're done with me now. They don't really care a whole hell of a lot about me until I signed a contract, and then they called me and wanted to know how much money I was going to give. And that these four guys that I can mention, that kind of pissed them off. So, long story short, I think direction probably has to change. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, it goes twofold. You keep guys kind of in the loop and, not around. I mean, the floor players don't want to be up there every week or every month. Shoot, they can probably only make a few games a year at most anyway. So, but if those guys are never felt welcome, why would they get out their checkbook and write a check? I don't care how much money you have or what little money you have. I mean, if you don't feel like you're kind of included and you don't feel like what you left on the table for that school, I mean, why would you want to, give back and help? I mean, that's just a fact of the matter. Football in particular, I'm speaking strictly for football. I mean, what you go for and what you put on the line for any university, not just Oklahoma State. I mean, you guys all know. I mean, it's a grind, man. You get 4 or 5 years of blood, sweat, and tears, and you go out and you try to leave it all out there. You want to make the alumni happy. I mean, you want to make the people that were there before you happy. I mean, that's the most rewarding thing about playing collegiate sports. And not that you should be rewarded, but I mean, you should take a little pride in that, and I think if people kind of recognize that, it'd be amazing how many former players would be a lot more willing to open up that wallet and give them a little more money.
Take us inside that quarterback room, if you will, now. And I think most of us feel like Sanders will likely play. And in this COVID time, to be honest with you, you don't know who's playing on either team till they get out and start stretching because, people are not going to tell you and you're going to find out in retrospect. But assuming all three quarterbacks are there, okay, in that quarterback room and available, you've got three different things. Sanders is still the guy. So assuming, let's say, his ankle's good enough to get out there and play, what's the mental approach of a Bullock, and I don't know if you know him or not, and the approach of an Illingworth who has got to be all jazzed up, hey, I got a chance to do this, and maybe in the back of his mind he thinks maybe I'll be the guy they call to start.
I think you're right on. I think obviously if Spencer's healthy, I mean he's your starter, right? I mean he's got to go. Unfortunately, I think Bullock kind of played himself out of that number 2 spot. This week going forward, I mean you got to assume Shane's going to be the backup. So, given the injury, Spencer kind of fight through it, see how fast he heals. I've had 2 high ankles. I got one against OU and kind of played through it, but his game's a lot different than mine. So he's a little more. He needs that ankle a little more than I did. I don't run, so but I think Shane's just got to. I would be shocked if he's not at least a second-string quarterback this week and going forward. I think he proved, given the ready in practice, be damned. Who cares? I mean, he went out when the lights were on and played well. So I think he's got to be the number 2 going forward. As long as Spencer's healthy, he's going to be the guy. And after that, hopefully it doesn't matter. Hopefully they can both one of those 2 guys can stay healthy and play well. But no, I think Shane played himself right in that number 2 spot.
It's Brandon Weeden joining us here on the Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Brandon, you mentioned Spencer Sanders there obviously uses that ankle a lot more with his mobility. If he goes out there Saturday, they throw him out there, he's starting, and you can tell right away he's not comfortable running out of the pocket too much or making plays with his legs. Are you confident in him as a quarterback enough to be able to win a game almost exclusively with his arm?
Not yet. I'm just being honest. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I mean, his biggest asset is his feet and making plays with his feet. To me, he hasn't proven that he can beat you strictly from the pocket. So if he's a liability and he's limping around out there and he is clearly not 100%, in my opinion, I think you got to make a move and get him healthy, get him 100% before he gets back out there. Because, like I said, I don't know that he's there from a physical standpoint, throwing the football, going through progressions, understanding defenses, blitzes, just progressions in general. I just don't think he's quite, polished enough maybe to get it done yet. I think he'll get there. I think Tim McKay's done a really good job with him, and he's gotten a lot better. But I think he still has a ways to go. But if he's able to move around and just run a little bit, then I think he'll be fine because that's obviously a tool that he's got in his toolbox to kind of keep those defenses honest.
There's a great, I guess, a great rhythm, if you will, with the offensive line and the quarterback. I don't care whether you're a runner or a thrower. You have to have the confidence that the guys up front are at least going to give you time to do something. When you're moving guys around, like Oklahoma State had to do last week, because they two weren't here, a couple of guys got hurt, and all of a sudden you're going from left to right. Does that mess with the quarterback's head somehow?
Big time. Yeah, I mean, especially, rhythm type throws, where the ball should be out on time and you're not able to step into a throw because you're getting pressure, maybe on a 3 or 5 step drop, that the ball should be out, kind of a rhythmic type throw. Yeah, I mean, what happens is, especially early on, the protection doesn't always have to be perfect, but if it keeps happening, a couple times in the first quarter and it's just not getting cleaned up, I don't care who you are, whether you're Tom Brady or my 6-year-old son playing flag football. I mean, you're going to get a little hesitant, like, come on, man, the confidence isn't going to be there, the trust isn't going to be there. So, yeah, I mean, I was very lucky there. I never hardly got hit. I could probably count on one hand how many times I really got hit hard. But running game's the same way. If there's holes early on, you get a little grease, and you got to get a little juice going early. Yeah, I think it kind of builds as the game goes on, and clearly that wasn't the case last week, and they had some obvious issues up front. It's pretty well documented. You don't have to beat a dead horse, but they better get that cleaned up. I got to assume West Virginia is better than Tulsa up front, and just like when I was there, and just like it's been ever since, offenses usually go as that offensive line goes, and you got to be able to run the football, especially with a back like Chuba Hubbard. But he's got to play better, in my opinion, too. I think he was tiptoeing around. I don't think he ran very hard. He kind of, in my opinion, looked like a guy that was thinking about the next level already. And it didn't pop off the screen like he was hitting the holes, kind of like LD Brown was. But LD looked like he was running a little bit harder. So it goes twofold. Offensive line's got to play well, but backs have to play well as well, and the quarterback's got to kind of do his part to help the offensive line as well.
I'd be remiss, last thing, if we didn't ask you this, take you into the NFL. Obviously, no preseason, a lot of uncertainty going into the regular season of the NFL. You spent a number of years in the NFL. What about this lack of preseason, whatever you want to call it, conditioning, game experience? Is that showing up now in the first couple of weeks of the NFL season?
Yeah, I think so. And it seems like a little bit more for defense. I mean, I don't know the numbers. I'm just speculating here, but I mean, the offensive output, man, has been crazy. I mean, points and yards. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are throwing for a ton of yards, and just because a lot of these on both sides of the ball really don't have their legs yet. Because they're used to playing at least a couple preseason games, and used to coming off football snap counts and just conditioning and the whole thing. Getting hit, being sore, hurting, the whole deal. Yeah, I mean, you can tell majority of players have a lot of rust. I mean, look at Drew Brees. Drew Brees, I mean, one of my favorite players to watch just because he's so dialed in. I mean, he hasn't looked right the first few weeks. So that tells you right there that, not that he wants to play in the preseason. The preseason is for the birds. Not many guys want to play in the preseason, but, having a game or two maybe to go out there and just kind of knock the rust off isn't a bad deal. You can tell there's still a lot of rust on a lot of these players, especially young guys that are having to play for the first time.
Brandon, since you talked about the NFL there, through a couple of weeks now, we've kind of seen the offenses on display, like you said. Through 2 weeks, who's your MVP front runner?
I mean, you got to go Russell Wilson at this point. I mean, what he's doing up there, just playing at a really high level. I've always thought he was a great player, and I'll be the first to tell you. I mean, he walked into an absolute perfect situation in Seattle his rookie year, and even the second year he had one of the best defenses in ball, plus he had one of the best running backs in ball. So, he didn't have to do a whole lot back then. Now, they don't have the Legion of Boom. They don't have a lot of pieces they had back then. Now it's the Russell Wilson show, and he's balling, man. I mean, he is flat out balling. I would have to say through week 2, and I mean, it's so early. I would give the nod to Russ, man. He's playing at an extremely high level.
Do you think part of that, too, is Pete Carroll kind of finally opening up the playbook more to him?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not even sure who their coordinator is. Pete's a defensive guy, but whoever they've got as a coordinator, I'm not sure if it's still Schottenheimer or not. But you can tell, I've always said that he's probably the best, if not one of the best, deep ball throwers in the NFL. And I don't think it's the prettiest deep ball just because when he throws it, it leaves a screen for 35 seconds and then it comes back in. He throws it so high and throws it so far, but he's extremely accurate. And those, you can tell the receivers like it because they can use their body and adjust, and he throws a very friendly deep ball. So I think they've got DK Metcalf, they've got Lockett, they've got these dudes that can stretch the field. So they've definitely opened things up. Back in the day, it was he threw it 15, 20 times a game. We used to call it a play called slant arrow. We called it. I can't remember what we called it now, but it was simple, just quick game. It was basically Russell, don't screw it up. We're going to win with our defense. Turn around and hit Marshawn Lynch and get out of the way. Now it's like, here, dude, you're going to throw it 30 times a game. You're going to throw for 350 and three or four tubs. So they're asking him to do a lot more. Yeah, and I think that's really helpful. But he's also got the weapons to do that. I mean, he's got a really good core of receivers, and Chris Carson's a good back. So yeah, they're asking him to do a lot more, and they're finally playing to his skill set a little bit.
Hey, we appreciate your time on a good day, on a good golf day, and we didn't grab you off the course. You're just actually coming back from the course, which is good timing for us. But
perfect. I walk off the 18th green at 4 o'clock. Went in and got cleaned up, got my stuff out of the locker, and it timed up perfect, man. I appreciate you not interfering with the good day at Southern Hills.
Hey, I would be the last person to interfere for the good day at Southern Hills. That is for sure. I wouldn't want to be the guy to do that.
True.
Hey, I appreciate it, buddy. Good talking to you. We'll keep up with you, and we'll bug you here down the line, see what's going on, see what your thoughts are here for Oklahoma State and the NFL. We'll do that here shortly, but thanks for your time.
You got it, guys. We'll see y'all.
All right, bud.